Keynote speaker tonight, Cam Doody. Cam?
Let's see. Does it still work?
Okay, I'll use this one. How's everybody?
Appreciate you sticking around for me tonight. It's a real opportunity for me. It's an honor. I went to Auburn University and graduated right in the middle of the financial crisis in 2009. I moved to Birmingham, and shortly thereafter ended up starting Bellhop, which was a company that I built for the next decade. And so I love this place so much. My wife's from Mountain Brook. Some of my best friends live in Birmingham. I come here all the time, and this place has the greatest people in the world. And I've gotten to see this place really grow up. This is a completely different city than it was when I lived here. And so anyway, what I want to talk about tonight is, breakouts. So I am now focused on finding these companies that can really, I call them the wild card of emerging cities, because we have to have companies like Harmony Labs. I spent time with Sheegan today, who's just an absolute brilliant entrepreneur that's also pouring back into this community. You've got Bill Smith with Shipped. There's the city has the city was founded by it's funny to think that Brassfield, O'Neill Steel, EBSCO, I know there's a lot more, Alabama Power, etc. These were startups at some point. And I just want to point to look at the when these companies were established. 1964, 1921, 1944. These are the types of companies that are like the bedrock of a city. We are entering into the dawn of a totally new era. The AI is about to change everything in the world, and it's going to happen so fast, and it's terrifying on one hand, and then it's super exciting on the other hand. But it's really going to change the way that we think about. It'll change the economic layers of a city, and I'll get into that. And I'll explain kind of what I'm seeing in the near future, in the midterm, and then I'm going to go into a story, and I'm going to tell a story of how we are attempting to go and find these breakout companies and bring them to our city. I live in Chattanooga now. I was poached in 2011, and but Birmingham would have been the city that I built this company if somebody didn't offer me a check and move me elsewhere. So last night I got to spend a ton of time with the board, Director Poole, Cynthia, and it's really awesome to see how much structure and excitement is happening in Birmingham to make sure that you guys are going and finding the types of companies that are going to be the new bedrock. So first of all, let me look at this slide. Okay, so in black, that's the S&P 500. In blue, that's total job openings. McKinsey said last week, 57% of all work is now automatable. And this is like, oh my God, this is scary, right? Well, I'm going to talk to you about why this isn't scary, and there will be a transition period. Every city is going to go through it. Every country is going to go through it. Every company is going to go through it. But if you think about the breakouts, pre-AI, they took 50 to 100 years to build. 1 to 5,000 employees. There's a number of them here in Birmingham. They created the majority of jobs. The majority of jobs are coming from our biggest companies. Post AI, starting basically now, we're going to be able to build businesses of that size inside of 5 or 10 years. This thing is just happening so quickly. And these companies are going to shift from being the majority of new jobs to just being the majority of GDP. It's going to be the majority of reinvestment, the majority of philanthropy are going to come from these breakout companies that will become the new bedrock. You know, you look at Atlanta, MailChimp's a $12 billion company, Red Hat and Raleigh is a $34 billion company, Epic's 4.6, and these were like Internet 1.0 companies, right? Those companies probably broke $1 billion in valuation inside of 10 years, and that was pre-AI. We're about to see one-person billion-dollar companies happen over the next decade. And we want them to be in our cities, right? What that is going to lead to, though, and the exciting part about this is pre-AI, the SMBs, you know, the heartbeat of our cities, according to ChatGPT, there's between 2,000 and 3,000 lifestyle businesses in Birmingham. You know, these are owner-operated, labor-intensive, high overhead, time-consuming, you know, very difficult businesses, right? But think about this. AI, let's take an example of like let's say a bakery, okay? You start a bakery because you love to bake, right? You don't start a bakery because you love to, you know, do the books every month and make sure that your shifts are all lining up and performance reviews and answering the phone, forecasting your inventory, etc. You know, those are like tasks that you have to do to be a baker. And what we're about to see is that AI is going to start to automate these tasks that take up so much time and resources for small business owners. The barriers are just going to drop to the floor, all right? And so you're going to have these larger companies that where before, if they grew, you know, $1 million in sales, they'd have 100, you know, or 10 employees or whatever. Well, now they're going to have 5, right? Well, what are these people going to do? That's a question that everybody's asking. You know, like, what are people going to do when AI starts taking people's jobs? Well, this is what they're going to do. This is what I believe they're going to do. At the same time, people are going to have this supercharged ability to create something amazing. And if you think about the, you know, economics, prices fall to the marginal cost of production over time. Meaning, in a competitive market, if I make coffee cups and I'm making them for $1, and my competitor figures out how to make them for 50 cents through a new, you know, innovative manufacturing process or something, well, they just price at 75 cents and they take my customers, right? But in the world where like, you know, like an Hermes scarf or something, okay? Prices never fall to the marginal cost of production when you're not looking at homogeneous products. And so small businesses are going to be powered by AI to do very, very unique things. Like to make that one croissant that everybody wants to show up for on a Saturday. And people are going to pay for it because they want that one thing. And it just creates a really exciting world. And, you know, I don't know if this is in the next 5 years. It's almost certainly in the next 10 years. I think this is going to move really quickly. But the thing that we can focus on, you know, I spent time with Brooke today at Innovation Depot. It was fantastic. I was absolutely blown away. I've never been. You know, having 100 companies under one roof, you know, that's a huge deal. Something that, you know, a lot of cities do not have, and it just means you're taking shots on goal. So breakouts are the wild cards for us. Like we need to create the next EBSCO, the next Brassfield and Gorey. You know, for Birmingham to grow, we have to find these companies. We have to build these companies here that can, you know, end up being a huge part of the GDP and the commerce and the reinvestment and the philanthropy. And so we started stacking the deck. And just to give an example, 1984 Dell went from a dorm room to $100 billion empire. That may happen in under 10 years. We've got to find these companies, right? So back in 2012, these three guys had started a company called Access America Transfer. I think they started in 2002. And this company was a third-party logistics company that was absolutely ripping. They had gone from zero to about $500 million in sales, completely self-funded. They'd never raised any capital. And they started investing the profits into early stage companies. And this is why I moved to Chattanooga back in 2011. We had started our company Bellhops, and they offered a check, and we didn't even know what venture capital was at the time, and we ended up going up there and building there. And so they started putting shots on goal, and something really wild happened. So they invested for only 4 years, like late 2012 to 2015. They invested in Bellhops, all these companies over here, Steam Logistics, Chattanooga Whiskey, American Exchange. This is around $1 billion worth of companies now that came out of 10 investments that they made over a 4-year period. I don't know how much money all of those companies have raised in capital and deployed in Chattanooga, but it's a huge amount. You had to move to Chattanooga. It wasn't an accelerator. There was no programming. There was no demo day. It was just no distractions. Put your head down, build, super competitive. Nobody wanted to leave. And everybody was just fully bought into growing our company as fast as possible. So by 2015, Access America sold. And Ted Allen and Barry were now looking at a bank account, instead of investing some of these golden eggs that the goose was laying. That golden goose was dead, and they just had a pile of eggs, right? And so they were also burnt out and they were tired. They were ready to kind of calm down, so they stopped making investments. Chattanooga's narrative continued to be like, we are this, city of innovation, and we're the gig city, and we kept beating this drum. We were busy building our company, so we couldn't do anything about it, but we all knew that there was something wrong. Like the faucet had turned off, the spigot turned off. We had continued building our company. Bellhops, for example, if you're not familiar, we took on the moving and relocation space with an asset-light model. And so we partnered with carriers and final mile logistics, and then we built this pretty sophisticated managed marketplace where we could manage a labor workforce, mostly college students all over the country, to move people. And we raised about $115 million between 2012 and 2019, and we went nationwide. We're the fastest growing moving company in the U.S. We moved about 500,000 U.S. households. At our peak, I think we had 250 employees, 6,000. I think at our peak before we started really focusing on getting our Bellhop to do more jobs, it was like 10,000 contractors or something. By 2019, we were just tired. I mean, we were just wrecked. I mean, this was a hard business. Moving, is super high impact. It's not like taco delivery. It's like you have to show up to somebody's house. They're stressed out. You are sweating. You're literally picking up their whole life. You've got 5 different balls in the air. The truck has to be there on time. Everybody on the crew has to be there. You have to have the right equipment. It isn't a high margin business. You don't have a lot of repeat rate because people don't move every year. I mean, it was hard, but it was a grind that was great. And ultimately, we decided it was time to sell the company. And so 3 months before COVID, best timing of my life, we sold the company into private equity. And so we were like, okay, we took about 6 months off, and that was fun for about 4 months. And then, you've probably all heard this 100 times, like, when you go from 100 miles an hour to zero, it's super weird. And so we knew we had to start something else. So we started talking about, we're going to start companies. Sarah, my co-founder, Matt. And it was like, no. It was very clear to us at the time, it's like 2021, we were in a bubble in venture capital, which if you're familiar with venture capital, it's like it's a very bifurcated space where it's either grow at any cost or efficient capital allocation to the max. And it's just this pendulum that just pins to one side or the other. 2021 was grow at any cost. I mean, it was absolute mania. There was too much money. ZIRP caused this. There was too much money chasing yield. There wasn't enough deals. The industry had to make venture capital, pop culture through the 2010s just to get founders in. And so, I remember when we started our company, like the title founder was not cool at all. People just felt sorry for you, right? Today, it's like your founders are celebrities. And so it's like, okay, here's our opportunity because we're in the peak of a bubble. We know that this bubble is going to pop. And we have the opportunity to build something that is really unique, that is the opposite of this, right? Like the VC echo chamber, this happens every 4 years. You will see it. Startups start incinerating capital because LPs, or GPs are they want you to grow at any cost, so you do, right? Valuations go through the roof. Tons of noise and distractions. People start taking offsites to like foreign countries, and pre-seed companies. 80% of the 2021 unicorns, which are $1 billion company, are now down 70% or more. So that's how this industry works. So we're like, okay, what can we do about that? So we decided to buy a building, and with a caveat of we are going to start a venture firm. If we invest in you, you have to move to Brickyard, okay? You have to build alongside the rest of our portfolio until $1 million in sales. And this is going to be the thing that kind of separates the wheat from the chaff. The serious founders are going to be interested in going to a place that's, super competitive, super high intensity, a place where you only have one thing to do. This isn't a boot camp 10-week thing. You're coming here for 18 to 24 months, and you're not going to do anything but work. And so that's we kind of like did the opposite of what the mania was, and it just worked. I'll get to that. So these are my partners here, Ted Allen and Barry that started Access, wrote our first check. We all threw together $4 million. We didn't know it was going to work. We didn't want to take anybody else's money. And so we put together our pilot fund, and we made it explicitly not about economic development. This was just purely, do you want to go fast? This is a place that you can do that. And we were looking for the types of founders that are just gritty junkyard dogs. We're investing pre-seed. It's way more about the founder than it is the company at that stage. And it just started working. Our fifth investment, 2.5 years in, started getting quoted by NVIDIA, and ended up selling to NVIDIA. Inbound, started accelerating. Our first year, for example, I think we looked at 400 decks, and we made 12 investments. And those are not good numbers. You need to look at way more companies than that, right? This year, we will look at over 10,000 decks, and we made 12 investments. But it started working, and then it started humming. Repower is a perfect example that came from Innovation Depot. Found them from you guys. They went on to raise their Series A. We started having numerous companies, raising super material rounds. People in venture capital are like, what is happening in Chattanooga, Tennessee? And I say all this to say, like, we are entering into a new era, and I want to share ideas, right? Because we have an opportunity to do something that other places don't, by just realizing that, the founder was on the stage before me, said, we can get anybody we want. We just have to get them on a plane. Birmingham sells itself, and it does. And so our strategy for going after these wild cards was, we got to get shots on goal. And so 4 years in, we've 5x lampposts already. We have 52 shots on goal. These are top tier, high growth, venture worthy companies that have come here from everywhere. Of the 52, one of them was from Tennessee. We write $300,000 to $500,000 checks, usually in a $1 or $2 million rounds. And this is the wild number. We're only 4 years in, okay? Our portfolio companies have raised $120 million combined, and they're valued right under $1 billion, and we have 2 exits, and we're 4 years in. The crazy thing is 90% of the capital that these teams are going to raise is going to be in years 6, 7, 8, 9. And so when you bring these wild cards to your city, like you guys are already doing, it puts a multiplier in capital that's invested, a huge multiplier in capital that's invested. And that can change the city. Any one of these companies could be the Dell, could be the MailChimp, could be the Ship, could be the Seller, right? About 9 of our companies, I believe it's 9, either 9 or 10 of our companies are HQ'd permanently in Chattanooga now. We put no strings attached on that. That is just purely their decision. And what that allows them, what that allows us to do is to say, listen, this is not about something that we want from you. This is about something that is totally your decision. If you decide that this city is the place you want to be, then we want you to stay here. If not, you need to go to where your company needs to go to scale. And what that allowed us to do was get top tier operators. If you are a top tier operator and you have these constraints of, we have to move to Buffalo, New York for 5 years, so you're just not getting the top, right? And venture is a grand slam game. You have to be able to attract, the types of founders that are capable of building really big companies. And that's not to say that they can come from here. But going into next year, we're going to double our fund size. Our fund right now is $20 million. Our next fund, we're going to take to 40, and we're going to do the same number of deals. By 2032, we're going to bring over 150 venture-backed companies to Chattanooga. And this is a playbook that we can all run. This is the public capital side of the equation, the private capital side of the equation. But this is what city returns look like. It's the same thing for cities that it is for venture capitalists. 95% of our returns are going to come from less than 5% of our investments, and that's how venture capital works. Any one of these could be a Chattanooga breakout. Any one of those companies that you have at Innovation Depot could be Birmingham's breakout. I think we are both going to have a lot more than that. And so I just want to end tonight with this one thing. This is a company called Ascari Defense. There are 3 people on their team. They're probably going to raise a $75 million round next year. They have a contract with DHS and SOCOM, and they're building drones that soldiers carry to deploy to take down other drones. And so you've all seen those videos. I believe Virginia talked about this earlier, that that's the biggest threat on the battlefield. They need maybe changing the world. They can certainly change our city. And a team that big can change a city. And so, my charge to you is to continue bringing top-tier builders to this city and finding ways to support them. And I want to congratulate all of you, because Birmingham is a city that we really look up to in so many ways, and you are doing all the right things, and this is a big testament to that tonight. So thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to meeting some of you guys in Birmingham.